in the Marine Corps. And I came back from Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I had PTSD. And this is one of the practices that helped me. And a lot of the practices that have helped me is the practice of being able to come back to myself, being able to find that true home. A lot of our veterans that are coming back from Iraq and Afghan, and a lot of the wars now, they haven't been able to find their true home. You know, they've come back to the United States, but they haven't been able to find that true home within inside of themselves. That's the reason why a lot of them, 22 to 23, are committing suicide per day. So that breaks down to 1 every 85 minutes. Because they don't know how to handle their PTSD. And they don't know how. The thing is, the PTSD is not going to go away. But like our teacher shares, if you know how to handle suffering, then you will suffer less. And that's the thing that I'm hoping to do with the veterans, is help them to suffer less. I've done a trial run. I've worked at the Memphis VA for the last 8 months, helping with the PTSD clinic, which is a 6-week in-house clinic for the veterans. And where I go there, one of the practices that I do is similarly to like what we did this morning, which is a 15-minute guided sitting meditation. Then we open it up for questions and having them be able to explain what is going on inside of them. After that, we do either mindful walking or we will do 10 mindful movements. And after, to be able to see them come into a room, 10 guys come into a room, be able to close the door and not freak out, to be able to close their eyes when I'm doing total relaxation and playing the flute for them and seeing them just be able to relax. That's already an accomplishment. And that's why I know this practice can work. And the practice is the practice of coming back home to ourselves. And in our tradition, we have a lot of ways to be able to do that. The main anchor is our breath. Our breath is always with us. The only time it's not with us is when we're 6 feet under. So therefore, you can always rely on your breath. You can always rely on your breathing. A lot of times we tend to breathe with our chest. So sometimes when we breathe with our chest, we can't feel the breath in our chest because our chest is constricted. So therefore, what do? We start to panic. But we forget that we also have to breathe with our stomach. So when our emotions become strong, what we can do is place our hand on our stomach. So if everybody can please put your hand on your stomach and just feel the rising and the falling of your abdomen. Just breathe naturally. Don't try to control your breathing. How does that make you feel? You feel a little bit safer when you can feel your breathing. You feel a little bit more grounded when you can feel your breathing, because you know that your breathing's there. And the image that our teacher likes to use is the image of a tree. In a very strong storm, if you're on the very top branches of the tree, what happens? You get tossed and turned. You get thrown around when you're on the very top branches of the tree. But when you come down to the trunk of the tree is a lot more solid. So therefore, that's the same practice as us coming back to our belly breathing. That's the trunk of the tree. But sometimes we might be agitated and we can't sit. So we need to go deeper. So what we do is we come down to the roots of our tree, which are our 2 feet. And we use them to do walking meditation out in nature. And we use that opportunity to be able to come back to ourselves. And nature can heal. And I joke around with some of my friends that are in the Marine Corps because of the fact that my MOS, or my military occupation when I was in the Marine Corps, was I was a scout sniper. And so I joke around because I very much enjoy taking pictures now, and I use a camera. And the thing is, I still look down still use opticals, but the opticals that I use is in a different form. It's there to help capture beautiful things. I'm not using my scope to hurt someone anymore. So therefore, that's part of the reason why that's some of the practices that I help them with. Another one of the practices is doing walking meditation. Sometimes I'm not a person that really likes to do a lot of the so-called formal practice, as far as, having to have a big group. But there's a lot of times when I do have strong emotions or something that comes up, and I use that opportunity to go for a walk in the forest. We're very fortunate at Magnolia because we're on 121 acres, and a lot of that place is also in the forest. So therefore, I have an opportunity to do a lot of walking meditation. There was a time when I lived in Deer Park, and my ex-wife, the mother of my daughter, she would call, and her and I would get into an argument, and then next thing you know, my brothers knew exactly, because I would disappear for 2 hours, and I would go for a walking meditation because Deer Park, our monastery in California, we're on about 400 acres. So therefore, I would just take myself and go for a walk. And I'd disappear for 2 hours. And my brothers and sisters, my brothers, would know exactly, well, he just got done talking to his ex-wife. So therefore, that practice can help you. Because that practice helps you to take, kind of like when we're cooking. If you have a pot that's boiling, and you take it and you move it over to a stove that has no heat on it, what happens to that water? That water starts to cool down. That's exactly the same thing that we're doing when we're able to come back to ourselves, come back to our breathing, come back to our steps. We don't have to react to what somebody said or somebody did to us, instead of increasing the heat. All of the things that happen to us have causes and conditions. And it just depends on what we choose to do with it. Another one of our practice of eating meditation.